Have you ever gazed up at the night sky and wondered what secrets the stars hold? Or pictured the lives of those who walked the earth millennia ago, building empires that continue to inspire awe? Tonight, we embark on a journey unlike any other, a slow, soothing voyage through the entire magnificent story of ancient Egypt. Prepare to close your eyes, relax your mind, and let the sands of time carry you away as we unravel the mysteries of pharaohs, gods, and the civilization that shaped the world. Our tale begins not with the pyramids, nor the pharaohs, but with the very land itself. Imagine a vast, arid landscape, stretching as far as the eye can see, sun-baked and unforgiving. This is the Sahara Desert, a sea of sand punctuated by rocky outcrops and desolate plains. Yet through this harsh expanse flows a lifeline, a ribbon of emerald green snaking its way northwards, the Nile. For the people who would become the ancient Egyptians, the Nile was everything. It was their source of water, their highway, their fertile fields, and, ultimately, their reason for existence. Every year, the river would swell, fed by the rains in the distant highlands of Ethiopia. This annual inundation, or flood, was not feared but anticipated. As the waters receded, they left behind a rich, black silt known as kemet, which nourished the land and allowed for bountiful harvests. It was this fertile land that drew the first settlers to the Nile Valley. Nomadic tribes, wandering the deserts, found solace and sustenance along its banks. Over time, these scattered settlements began to coalesce, forming small villages and agricultural communities. They learned to harness the power of the Nile, developing sophisticated irrigation systems to control the floodwaters and extend their growing season. They cultivated wheat, barley, flax, and other crops, providing a stable food supply for their growing population. As these communities prospered, they began to interact and compete with one another. Slowly, two distinct kingdoms emerged. Upper Egypt in the south, stretching from the first cataract of the Nile to the region just south of modern-day Cairo, and Lower Egypt in the north, encompassing the fertile Nile Delta, where the river branched out into numerous streams before emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. Upper Egypt, with its capital at Nikhen, also known as Hierakonpolis, was characterized by its strong military traditions and its devotion to the falcon god Horus. Its rulers wore a white crown, shaped like a bowling pin, symbolizing their power and authority. Lower Egypt, with its capital at Pi, also known as Buto, was more focused on trade and agriculture, and its people worshipped the cobra goddess Wadjet. Their kings wore a red crown, with a distinctive curled extension at the back. For centuries, these two kingdoms existed side by side, sometimes in peace, sometimes in conflict. But the seeds of unification were already being sown. The ambition of rulers, the need for resources, and the desire for stability all contributed to the inevitable clash that would determine the fate of Egypt. And it was from Upper Egypt that a powerful leader emerged, a king whose name would forever be etched in the annals of history: Narmer. Tradition holds that Narmer, also sometimes identified with a figure known as Menes, was the king who finally united Upper and Lower Egypt, forging a single, powerful kingdom that would last for 3 millennia. The evidence for this unification comes from a remarkable artifact known as the Narmer Palette, a large, ceremonial slate palette discovered at Hierakonpolis. The Narmer Palette depicts a king, clearly identified as Narmer by the hieroglyphic symbols accompanying his image, wearing both the white crown of Upper Egypt and the red crown of Lower Egypt. One side of the palette shows Narmer smiting an enemy, a symbol of his military prowess and his subjugation of Lower Egypt. The other side depicts Narmer leading a procession, inspecting the bodies of decapitated enemies. While the palette does not explicitly state that Narmer unified Egypt, its imagery strongly suggests that he played a crucial role in bringing the two kingdoms together. Whether Narmer was the sole unifier, or whether the process was more gradual and complex, the result was the same: a unified Egypt with a single ruler, a single government, and a single culture. This unification marked the beginning of the early dynastic period, a time of consolidation and growth that laid the foundation for the Old Kingdom, the Age of the Pyramids. With the dawn of the early dynastic period, roughly from 3100 to 2686 BCE, Egypt began its ascent to become one of the most influential civilizations in human history. The first two dynasties, aptly named the First and Second Dynasties, saw the establishment of fundamental institutions and practices that would define Egyptian society for centuries to come. The capital, initially at Thinis near Abydos in Upper Egypt, reflected the southern origins of the unified kingdom. Kings of this era, figures like Hor-Aha, Djer, and Den, focused on consolidating their power, expanding their territory, and developing a centralized administration. Writing, already in its nascent stages, began to evolve into a more sophisticated system of hieroglyphs. These sacred carvings, as the Greeks would later call them, were not merely decorative. They were a complex system of communication, used to record history, administer the state, and express religious beliefs. Scribes, highly trained and respected members of society, held a crucial role in maintaining records and transmitting knowledge. Architecture during this period was characterized by the use of mud brick, a readily available material that was well suited to the Egyptian climate. Tombs, initially simple rectangular structures known as mastabas, became increasingly elaborate, reflecting the growing wealth and power of the ruling elite. These mastabas were not just burial places. They were also designed to house offerings and provisions for the afterlife, reflecting the Egyptians' deep-seated belief in the continuation of life after death. Religion played a central role in the lives of the early dynastic Egyptians. They worshipped a pantheon of gods and goddesses, each with their own specific roles and responsibilities. Horus, the falcon god, remained the patron deity of kingship, while other important deities included Ra, the sun god, and Osiris, the god of the underworld. Religious rituals and ceremonies were performed to ensure the continued prosperity of the kingdom and to maintain the cosmic order known as Ma'at. The economy of early dynastic Egypt was primarily based on agriculture, with the Nile providing the lifeblood for the land. Farmers cultivated crops such as wheat, barley, and flax, using irrigation techniques to maximize their yields. The surplus of food allowed for the development of specialized crafts and industries, such as pottery, weaving, and metalworking. Trade also played an important role, with Egypt exchanging goods with neighboring regions, such as Nubia and the Levant. As the early dynastic period drew to a close, Egypt stood on the threshold of a new era, the Old Kingdom. This period, spanning from 2686 to 2181 BCE, is often considered the golden age of ancient Egypt, a time of unparalleled stability, prosperity, and artistic achievement. It was during the Old Kingdom that the iconic pyramids were built, testaments to the power and ingenuity of the pharaohs and the dedication of the Egyptian people. The Third Dynasty, marking the beginning of the Old Kingdom, saw a pivotal shift in royal power and architectural innovation. Pharaoh Djoser, the first king of this dynasty, reigned for nearly 2 decades and ushered in a new era of monumental construction. He commissioned his architect, Imhotep, a man of extraordinary genius, to design and build his tomb at Saqqara. Imhotep's creation was revolutionary. A stepped pyramid, a series of mastabas stacked on top of each other, reaching towards the sky. The stepped pyramid of Djoser was not just a tomb. It was a symbol of royal power and a testament to the ingenuity of the Egyptian people. It was the first large-scale stone structure ever built, a feat of engineering that required meticulous planning, precise execution, and a vast amount of labor. The pyramid complex included temples, courtyards, and other structures, all enclosed within a massive limestone wall. Imhotep's influence extended far beyond architecture. He was also a physician, a priest, and a scribe, revered for his wisdom and knowledge. In later periods, he was even deified, becoming the god of medicine and healing. His legacy as a polymath and innovator continues to inspire awe and admiration to this day. The Fourth Dynasty witnessed the culmination of pyramid building, with the construction of the Great Pyramids of Giza. Pharaohs Sneferu, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, each in their turn, commissioned these colossal monuments, pushing the boundaries of engineering and artistic achievement. Sneferu, the first pharaoh of the Fourth Dynasty, was a prolific builder responsible for constructing 3 pyramids: the pyramid at Medum, the bent pyramid at Dashur, and the red pyramid at Dashur. The Medum pyramid, originally designed as a stepped pyramid, was later converted into a true pyramid, but its outer casing collapsed, leaving it with its distinctive stepped appearance. The bent pyramid, so named because of its change in angle midway up its slope, is believed to have been an attempt to correct a design flaw. The red pyramid, the third and largest of Sneferu's pyramids, was the first successful true pyramid with smooth, sloping sides. Khufu, Sneferu's son, commissioned the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest pyramid ever built. It is a truly awe-inspiring structure, standing at a height of over 480 feet and covering an area of over 13 acres. The pyramid is composed of over 2.3 million blocks of stone, each weighing an average of 2.5 tons. How the ancient Egyptians managed to quarry, transport, and precisely position these massive blocks remains a subject of debate and speculation. Khafre, Khufu's son, built the second largest pyramid at Giza, along with the Sphinx, a colossal statue of a lion with a human head, believed to represent Khafre himself. The Sphinx stands guard over the pyramids, a silent sentinel watching over the sands of time. Menkaure, Khafre's son, built the smallest of the three main pyramids at Giza. Although smaller than its predecessors, it is still a remarkable structure, and its construction reflects the same level of skill and precision. The construction of the pyramids was a massive undertaking, requiring the mobilization of vast resources and a highly organized workforce. It is estimated that tens of thousands of workers were involved in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, working in shifts over a period of several decades. These workers were not slaves, as is often portrayed, but skilled laborers, paid for their work and provided with food, shelter, and medical care. The pyramids were not just tombs, they were also symbols of royal power and religious beliefs. They were designed to ensure the pharaoh's successful passage into the afterlife and to maintain the cosmic order. The pyramids were aligned with the cardinal directions and were decorated with intricate carvings and paintings depicting scenes from Egyptian mythology and religious rituals. The 5th and 6th dynasties of the Old Kingdom saw a gradual decline in royal power and a rise in the influence of local officials. The pharaohs continued to build pyramids, but they were smaller and less elaborate than those of the 4th dynasty. The focus shifted from monumental construction to temple building and the development of religious cults. The sun god Ra became increasingly important during this period, and pharaohs began to incorporate Ra's name into their own, such as Djedkare-Isesi. Sun temples dedicated to Ra were built near the pyramids, and the worship of Ra became an integral part of the Egyptian religious system. As the Old Kingdom drew to a close, Egypt faced a period of political instability and economic decline, known as the First Intermediate Period. The centralized government weakened, and local governors, known as nomarchs, gained increasing autonomy. The Nile floods became less predictable, leading to crop failures and famine. Civil wars erupted, and the kingdom fragmented into competing factions. The First Intermediate Period, lasting from 2181 to 2055 BCE, was a dark age in Egyptian history, a time of chaos and disorder. The achievements of the Old Kingdom seemed to be crumbling, and the future of Egypt hung in the balance. Yet, even in this period of turmoil, the seeds of renewal were being sown. New ideas and new forms of art and literature emerged, reflecting the changing social and political landscape. From the ashes of the Old Kingdom, a new dynasty arose in Thebes, a city in Upper Egypt. These Theban kings, led by Mentuhotep II, embarked on a campaign to reunite Egypt and restore order to the land. After decades of conflict, they finally succeeded in bringing the country back under a single rule, ushering in the Middle Kingdom, a new era of prosperity and cultural achievement. Mentuhotep II, the pharaoh who reunited Egypt, is considered the founder of the Middle Kingdom. He moved the capital to Thebes, establishing it as the political and religious center of the country. He also reorganized the government, strengthening the power of the pharaoh and reducing the influence of the nomarchs. The Middle Kingdom, spanning from 2055 to 1650 BCE, was a time of stability, prosperity, and cultural flourishing. The pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom focused on consolidating their power, expanding their territory, and promoting trade and commerce. They also invested in infrastructure projects, such as irrigation systems and canals, to improve agricultural productivity. Literature flourished during the Middle Kingdom, with the development of new genres and styles. The story of Sinuhe, a tale of exile and adventure, is considered one of the masterpieces of Egyptian literature. The wisdom texts, collections of moral and ethical teachings, provide insights into the values and beliefs of Egyptian society. Art and architecture also flourished during the Middle Kingdom. The pharaohs built temples and tombs, decorated with intricate carvings and paintings. The style of art became more realistic and expressive, reflecting the changing social and political landscape. The 12th dynasty in particular is considered the golden age of the Middle Kingdom. Pharaohs such as Amenemhat I, Senusret III, and Amenemhat III were strong and effective rulers who brought stability and prosperity to Egypt. They expanded Egypt's territory into Nubia and the Levant, and they established trade relations with other regions of the ancient world. Amenemhat III, one of the most powerful pharaohs of the 12th dynasty, is known for his ambitious building projects. including the construction of a massive artificial lake in the Fayum region, known as Lake Moeris. This lake was used to regulate the Nile floods and to provide water for irrigation. Amenemhat III also built a pyramid at Hawara, which was later described by the Greek historian Herodotus as a labyrinth due to its complex and intricate design. As the Middle Kingdom drew to a close, Egypt faced a new period of instability and decline, known as the Second Intermediate Period. The Hyksos, a foreign people from the Levant, invaded Egypt and established their rule in the north. The Egyptian kings retreated to Thebes, and the country was divided into competing factions once again. The Hyksos, whose name means foreign rulers, introduced new technologies and ideas to Egypt, including the horse-drawn chariot, the composite bow, and new techniques of metalworking. While their rule was initially disruptive, it also had a positive impact on Egyptian society, leading to technological advancements and cultural exchange. The Second Intermediate Period, lasting from 1650 to 1550 BCE, was a time of hardship and humiliation for the Egyptians. They were forced to pay tribute to the Hyksos kings, and their land was plundered and ravaged. But the spirit of the Egyptians was not broken. They bided their time, waiting for an opportunity to rise up and drive out the foreign invaders. Finally, in the late 16th century BCE, a Theban king named Ahmose I launched a successful rebellion against the Hyksos. He drove them out of Egypt and reunited the country under his rule, ushering in the New Kingdom, the most glorious and powerful period in Egyptian history. Ahmose I, the founder of the 18th dynasty and the first pharaoh of the New Kingdom, not only expelled the Hyksos, but also laid the groundwork for an empire that would stretch from Nubia in the south to the Euphrates River in the north. His reign, though relatively short, was crucial in re-establishing Egyptian dominance and setting the stage for the expansionist policies of his successors. He reorganized the army, adopting Hyksos military technology to create a more formidable fighting force. He also rebuilt temples and infrastructure that had been damaged during the Hyksos occupation, restoring a sense of national pride and unity. Most of the first successors, Amenhotep I and Thutmose I, continued his work of consolidation and expansion. Amenhotep I focused on internal affairs, promoting the arts and sciences, and establishing a period of peace and prosperity. Thutmose I, on the other hand, was a more aggressive ruler, leading military campaigns into Nubia and the Levant, extending Egypt's control over vast territories. He pushed Egypt's borders further than ever before, establishing a presence in Syria and laying the foundation for the Egyptian empire. It was during the reign of Thutmose I that the Valley of the Kings, a secluded valley on the west bank of the Nile near Thebes, became the preferred burial place for the pharaohs of the New Kingdom. This shift from pyramid building to rock-cut tombs was likely motivated by a desire for greater security and to deter tomb robbers. The Valley of the Kings provided a more concealed and defensible location for the pharaoh's final resting places. Thutmose II, the son of Thutmose I, had a relatively short and uneventful reign. He married his half-sister, Hatshepsut, a common practice among Egyptian royalty to maintain the purity of the royal bloodline. However, Thutmose II's premature death led to a succession crisis, as his only son, Thutmose III, was still a young child. Hatshepsut, the widow of Thutmose II, seized the opportunity to become pharaoh, ruling as regent for her young stepson. However, she soon declared herself pharaoh in her own right, adopting the full regalia and titles of a male king. Hatshepsut's reign was remarkable for its focus on peace and prosperity, rather than military conquest. She commissioned numerous building projects, including the magnificent temple complex at Deir el-Bahri, dedicated to herself and the god Amun. Hatshepsut's temple at Deir el-Bahri is a masterpiece of Egyptian architecture, a terrace structure built into the cliffs of the Theban mountains. It is decorated with intricate carvings and paintings depicting Hatshepsut's divine birth, her coronation, and her famous expedition to the land of Punt, a legendary land believed to be located in present-day Somalia. The expedition to Punt brought back exotic goods such as incense, myrrh, ebony, ivory, and gold, enriching Egypt and enhancing Hatshepsut's prestige. Hatshepsut's reign was a period of great artistic and cultural achievement. She promoted trade and commerce, and she restored many of the temples and monuments that had been neglected during the Second Intermediate Period. She also commissioned numerous statues and portraits of herself, depicting her as a powerful and benevolent ruler. After Hatshepsut's death, Thutmose III, finally assuming his rightful place as pharaoh, embarked on a series of military campaigns that solidified Egypt's control over its empire. He is considered one of the greatest military commanders in Egyptian history, leading his armies to victory in numerous battles. Thutmose III's most famous victory was the Battle of Megiddo, where he defeated a coalition of Canaanite princes who had rebelled against Egyptian rule. The battle was a decisive victory for Egypt, and it secured its control over the Levant for centuries to come. Thutmose III's military campaigns extended Egypt's influence as far north as the Euphrates River and as far south as the Fourth Cataract of the Nile. Thutmose III was not only a military genius, but also a skilled administrator and a patron of the arts. He commissioned numerous building projects, including additions to the Karnak Temple, the largest religious complex in the world. He also ordered the destruction of many of Hatshepsut's statues and monuments, attempting to erase her from history. The reasons for this are debated, but it is likely that Thutmose III felt that Hatshepsut had usurped his throne and that her reign had been illegitimate. Amenhotep II, the son of Thutmose III, continued his father's policies of military expansion and consolidation. He led campaigns into Syria and Palestine, suppressing rebellions and maintaining Egyptian control over its empire. He was also a skilled athlete, known for his archery and his horsemanship. Thutmose IV, the son of Amenhotep II, is best known for the Dream Stele, an inscription on the Sphinx at Giza that recounts a dream in which the Sphinx promised him the throne of Egypt if he cleared away the sand that had accumulated around it. Thutmose IV fulfilled his promise, and he became pharaoh. The Dream Stele is a testament to the importance of the Sphinx in Egyptian mythology and to the power of royal propaganda. Amenhotep III, the son of Thutmose IV, ruled during a period of unprecedented peace and prosperity. He focused on diplomacy and trade rather than military conquest. He maintained friendly relations with other powerful kingdoms, such as the Mitanni and the Babylonians, and he exchanged gifts and ambassadors with them. Amenhotep III was a prolific builder, commissioning numerous temples, palaces, and statues. He built the Colossi of Memnon, two massive statues of himself that stood guard at the entrance to his mortuary temple on the west bank of the Nile. He also built the Luxor Temple, dedicated to the god Amun, which is one of the most beautiful and well-preserved temples in Egypt. Amenhotep III's reign marked the height of Egyptian power and influence in the ancient world. Egypt was a wealthy and prosperous kingdom, with a vast empire that stretched across much of the Near East. Its pharaohs were revered as gods, and its culture was admired and emulated by other civilizations. Amenhotep IV, the son of Amenhotep III, was a radical reformer who challenged the traditional religious beliefs of Egypt. He abandoned the worship of the traditional gods, including Amun, and he promoted the worship of a single god, Aten, the sun disk. He changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning effective for Aten, and he moved the capital from Thebes to a new city called Akhetaten, meaning horizon of Aten, located at modern-day Amarna. Akhenaten's religious reforms were revolutionary and deeply unpopular with the Egyptian people. He closed the temples of the traditional gods, confiscated their wealth, and persecuted their priests. He promoted a new style of art that was more realistic and expressive than the traditional style, depicting himself and his family in intimate and informal poses. Akhenaten's reign was a period of great upheaval and instability. His religious reforms alienated the powerful priesthood of Amun, and his neglect of foreign affairs led to the loss of much of Egypt's empire in the Levant. His policies were widely resented by the Egyptian people, who clung to their traditional beliefs and customs. After Akhenaten's death, his religious reforms were reversed, and the traditional gods were restored to their former prominence. His successor, Tutankhaten, changed his name to Tutankhamun, meaning living image of Amun, and he moved the capital back to Thebes. Tutankhamun's reign was short and relatively uneventful. He is best known for his tomb, which was discovered in 1922 by the British archaeologist Howard Carter. Tutankhamun's tomb was remarkably intact, containing a wealth of treasures that provided valuable insights into the life and times of the ancient Egyptians. The discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb sparked a worldwide fascination with ancient Egypt. The treasures from the tomb, including his golden death mask, his chariots, and his furniture, were exhibited around the world, attracting millions of visitors. Tutankhamun became a household name, and his tomb became one of the most popular tourist destinations in Egypt. Horemheb, the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, was a general who had served under Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and Ai. He restored order to Egypt after the turbulent reign of Akhenaten, and he laid the foundation for the 19th dynasty. He destroyed many of Akhenaten's monuments and inscriptions, attempting to erase him from history. The 19th dynasty was founded by Ramesses I, a military commander who had served under Horemheb. Ramesses I had a short reign, but he established a powerful dynasty that would rule Egypt for over a century. Seti I, the son of Ramesses I, was a strong and effective ruler who restored Egypt's power and prestige. He led military campaigns into the Levant and Nubia, re-establishing Egyptian control over its empire. He also commissioned numerous building projects, including the magnificent temple at Abydos, dedicated to the god Osiris. Ramesses II, the son of Seti I, is considered one of the greatest pharaohs of the New Kingdom. He ruled for 66 years, and he left behind a vast legacy of monuments and inscriptions. He is known for his military prowess, his diplomatic skills, and his prolific building projects. Ramesses II fought numerous battles against the Hittites, a powerful kingdom in Anatolia. The most famous of these battles was the Battle of Kadesh, which was fought in Syria. The battle was a stalemate, but Ramesses II claimed it as a great victory, and he had it depicted on the walls of numerous temples. Ramesses II also negotiated a peace treaty with the Hittites, which is one of the oldest known peace treaties in the world. The treaty established a border between Egypt and the Hittite kingdom, and it pledged mutual assistance in case of attack. Ramesses II was a prolific builder, commissioning numerous temples, palaces, and statues. He built the Ramesseum, his mortuary temple, on the west bank of the Nile, which was one of the largest and most impressive temples in Egypt. He also built the Abu Simbel temples, two massive temples carved into the cliffs of Nubia. The Abu Simbel temples were built to commemorate Ramesses II and his queen Nefertari. The larger temple is dedicated to Ramesses II, Rehorakti, Amun, and Ptah, while the smaller temple is dedicated to Nefertari and the goddess Hathor. The temples were moved in the 1960s to save them from being submerged by the rising waters of the Aswan High Dam. Merneptah, the son of Ramesses II, faced numerous challenges during his reign, including invasions from the Libyans and the Sea Peoples, a mysterious group of seafarers who raided the coasts of the Mediterranean. He successfully defended Egypt against these threats, but his reign marked the beginning of a decline in Egyptian power. The 20th dynasty was the last dynasty of the New Kingdom. It was a period of political instability and economic decline. The pharaohs of the 20th dynasty were weak and ineffective rulers, and they were unable to maintain control over Egypt's vast empire. Ramesses III, the second pharaoh of the 20th dynasty, was a strong and capable ruler who defended Egypt against the Sea Peoples. He defeated them in a decisive naval battle, saving Egypt from invasion. However, his reign was also marked by internal strife and economic problems. After the death of Ramesses III, Egypt entered a period of decline. The power of the pharaohs waned, and the country was divided into competing factions. The temples became increasingly powerful, and their priests exerted a growing influence over the government. The third intermediate period, lasting from 1069 to 664 BCE, was a time of political fragmentation and foreign domination. Egypt was divided into several independent kingdoms, ruled by Libyan princes, Nubian kings, and local warlords. The country was weakened by internal strife and vulnerable to foreign invasion. The 21st dynasty was based in Tanis, in the Nile Delta. The pharaohs of this dynasty were relatively weak, and they ruled over a fragmented kingdom. The high priests of Amun at Thebes exercised considerable power in Upper Egypt. The 22nd dynasty was founded by Shoshenq I, a Libyan prince who seized control of Egypt. The pharaohs of this dynasty were also of Libyan origin, and they ruled over a divided kingdom. They faced challenges from rival dynasties and from the growing power of the Assyrian Empire. The 23rd dynasty was a rival dynasty that ruled in Upper Egypt during the 22nd dynasty. The pharaohs of this dynasty were also of Libyan origin. The 24th dynasty was a short-lived dynasty that ruled in Sais, in the Nile Delta. The pharaohs of this dynasty were Egyptian. The 25th dynasty was founded by Piye, a Nubian king who conquered Egypt and established his rule. The pharaohs of this dynasty were Nubian, and they ruled over a united Egypt. They revived Egyptian culture and art, and they resisted the expansion of the Assyrian Empire. The Assyrian Empire conquered Egypt in 671 BCE, ending the 25th dynasty. The Assyrians ruled Egypt for a short time, but they were eventually driven out by Psamtik I, the founder of the 26th dynasty. The late period, lasting from 664 to 332 BCE, was a time of renewed Egyptian independence and prosperity. The pharaohs of the 26th dynasty restored Egyptian power and prestige, and they promoted trade and commerce. They also revived Egyptian art and culture. The 26th dynasty was based in Sais, in the Nile Delta. The pharaohs of this dynasty were Egyptian. They rebuilt the Egyptian army and navy, and they expanded Egypt's trade relations with other countries. The Persian Empire conquered Egypt in 525 BCE, ending the 26th dynasty. The Persians ruled Egypt for over 2 centuries, but they were eventually driven out by Alexander the Great. The 27th dynasty was a period of Persian rule in Egypt. The Persians appointed governors to rule Egypt, and they imposed heavy taxes on the Egyptian people. The 28th dynasty was a short-lived dynasty that ruled in Egypt after the Persians were driven out. The 29th dynasty was another short-lived dynasty that ruled in Egypt after the 28th dynasty. The 30th dynasty was the last native Egyptian dynasty to rule Egypt before the conquest by Alexander the Great. The pharaohs of this dynasty were Egyptian, and they fought to maintain Egypt's independence from the Persian Empire. The Persian Empire reconquered Egypt in 343 BCE, ending the 30th dynasty. The Persians ruled Egypt until Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 BCE. With the arrival of Alexander the Great, a new chapter began. Alexander's conquest marked the end of pharaonic rule in Egypt and the beginning of the Hellenistic period. Alexander, a brilliant military strategist and a charismatic leader, was welcomed by the Egyptians as a liberator from Persian rule. He respected Egyptian culture and religion, visiting the oracle of Amun at Siwa Oasis and declaring himself the son of Amun, a move that legitimized his rule in the eyes of the Egyptian people. Alexander founded the city of Alexandria on the Mediterranean coast, which quickly became a major center of trade, learning, and culture. Alexandria attracted scholars, artists, and merchants from all over the ancient world, and it became famous for its great library, one of the largest and most important libraries in antiquity. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire was divided among his generals, known as the Diadochi. Egypt fell to Ptolemy I Soter, one of Alexander's most trusted generals, who established the Ptolemaic dynasty. The Ptolemies ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries, from 305 to 30 BCE. They were Greek in origin, but they adopted many Egyptian customs and traditions. They ruled as pharaohs, building temples, commissioning statues, and participating in Egyptian religious rituals. The Ptolemies promoted Greek culture and learning in Egypt, but they also maintained and supported Egyptian traditions. They built temples to both Greek and Egyptian gods, and they patronized Egyptian artists and scholars. The Ptolemaic dynasty was a period of great prosperity and cultural exchange in Egypt. Alexandria became a major center of Hellenistic culture, and it attracted scholars and artists from all over the Greek world. The Great Library of Alexandria housed a vast collection of books and scrolls, and it became a center of learning and research. The Ptolemies also developed a sophisticated system of administration and taxation, which allowed them to control the economy and to finance their ambitious building projects. They promoted trade and commerce, and they built roads, canals, and harbors to facilitate the movement of goods. One of the most famous Ptolemaic rulers was Cleopatra VII, the last queen of Egypt. Cleopatra was a beautiful and intelligent woman who played a significant role in the politics of the Roman Republic. She formed alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, 2 of the most powerful men in Rome, and she used her influence to protect Egypt's interests. Cleopatra's relationship with Julius Caesar produced a son, Caesarion, whom she hoped would succeed her as ruler of Egypt. However, Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE plunged Rome into civil war, and Cleopatra was forced to align herself with Mark Antony. Cleopatra and Mark Antony formed a close personal and political relationship, and they had 3 children together. However, their alliance with Antony brought them into conflict with Octavian, Caesar's adopted son and heir. Octavian defeated Antony and Cleopatra at the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, and he invaded Egypt in 30 BCE. Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide rather than be captured by Octavian, and Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire. With the death of Cleopatra, the Ptolemaic dynasty came to an end, and Egypt became part of the Roman world. The Roman emperors ruled Egypt for over 6 centuries, from 30 BCE to 641 CE. The Romans exploited Egypt's resources, using the country as a source of grain and other goods to feed the population of Rome. They also imposed heavy taxes on the Egyptian people, which led to resentment and rebellion. Despite the Roman exploitation, Egypt continued to be a center of culture and learning during the Roman period. Alexandria remained a major city, and it attracted scholars and artists from all over the Roman world. The city also became a center of early Christianity, and it produced many important Christian theologians and writers. During the Roman period, Egyptian art and architecture continued to be influenced by both Egyptian and Roman styles. The Romans built temples, baths, and other public buildings in Egypt, and they incorporated Egyptian motifs into their art. In the early centuries CE, Christianity spread throughout Egypt, and it gradually replaced the traditional Egyptian religion. The Coptic Church, the Christian Church of Egypt, was founded in the 1st century CE by Saint Mark the Evangelist. The Coptic Church played a significant role in the development of Christian theology and monasticism. The Desert Fathers, early Christian monks who lived in the Egyptian desert, were influential figures in the history of Christianity. The Roman Empire was divided into two halves in the late 4th century CE, and Egypt became part of the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines continued to rule Egypt for several centuries, but their control over the country gradually weakened. In the 7th century CE, the Arabs invaded Egypt, bringing with them the religion of Islam. The Arab conquest of Egypt in 641 CE marked the end of Roman rule and the beginning of a new era in Egyptian history. The Arab conquest of Egypt was a transformative event, marking the end of the ancient world and the beginning of the medieval period. The Arabs introduced Islam to Egypt, and Arabic gradually replaced Coptic as the dominant language. Egypt became part of the Islamic world, and it played an important role in the development of Islamic culture and civilization. Cairo, the new capital of Egypt, became a major center of Islamic learning and trade. The history of ancient Egypt is a long and complex story, spanning thousands of years. From the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt to the Roman conquest, Egypt was a major power in the ancient world, influencing the course of history and leaving behind a lasting legacy of art, architecture, and culture. The pyramids of Giza, the temples of Karnak and Luxor, the Valley of the Kings, and the treasures of Tutankhamun are just a few of the many wonders that ancient Egypt has bequeathed to the world. These monuments stand as testaments to the ingenuity, creativity, and ambition of the ancient Egyptians. The story of ancient Egypt is a story of pharaohs and gods, of pyramids and temples, of hieroglyphs and mummies. It is a story of a civilization that flourished for thousands of years, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire awe and wonder to this day. As we drift further into slumber, remember the cyclical nature of the Nile, the ebb and flow of power, the rise and fall of dynasties. This is the rhythm of history, the heartbeat of ancient Egypt, now fading into a peaceful, restful quiet. Sleep now and dream of the sands of time. The Arab conquest of Egypt in 641 CE ushered in a new era, forever altering the cultural and religious landscape of the land. The Byzantine rule, weakened by internal strife and external pressures, crumbled before the advancing Rashidun Caliphate. Amr ibn al-As, the Arab general leading the charge, skillfully navigated the political and military complexities, eventually securing Egypt under Islamic control. The transition wasn't instantaneous or entirely peaceful. While some Egyptians, particularly those facing religious persecution under Byzantine rule, welcomed the Arabs, others resisted. Battles were fought, sieges endured, and treaties negotiated. Ultimately, however, the superior military strength and strategic acumen of the Arab forces prevailed. The arrival of Islam profoundly impacted Egyptian society. Arabic gradually replaced Coptic as the language of administration and commerce, although Coptic continued to be spoken by many, particularly in rural areas, and remains the liturgical language of the Coptic Orthodox Church to this day. Islam brought with it new laws, customs, and social structures, gradually transforming Egyptian society over the centuries. Initially, the Arab rulers were relatively tolerant of the existing Christian and Jewish communities, granting them protected status as people of the book, dhimis, in exchange for the payment of a special tax, jizya. However, over time, discriminatory practices and pressures to convert to Islam increased, leading to a gradual decline in the Christian population. Egypt became a vital province within the expanding Islamic Caliphate, serving as a strategic base for further conquests in North Africa and beyond. The country's rich agricultural resources and strategic location made it a valuable asset to the caliphs in Damascus and later in Baghdad. The early centuries of Islamic rule in Egypt were marked by political instability, and frequent changes in leadership. The country was governed by a succession of Arab governors appointed by the Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates. These governors often faced challenges from local rebellions and power struggles, as well as from external threats, such as Byzantine naval incursions. Despite the political turmoil, Egypt experienced a period of economic prosperity during the early Islamic period. The Arab rulers invested in infrastructure projects, such as irrigation systems and canals, which boosted agricultural production. Trade flourished, with Egyptian goods, such as textiles, grain, and papyrus, being exported throughout the Islamic world and beyond. In the 9th century, Egypt began to assert its independence from the Abbasid Caliphate. The Tulunid dynasty, founded by Ahmad ibn Tulun, a Turkish slave soldier who rose to prominence in the Abbasid army, established an autonomous rule in Egypt. The Tulunids built a new capital at Al-Qatai, near modern-day Cairo, and they commissioned numerous architectural marvels, including the magnificent Ibn Tulun Mosque, which remains one of the largest and most impressive mosques in Cairo. The Tulunid dynasty was short-lived, however, and was overthrown by the Abbasids in the early 10th century. But the seeds of Egyptian independence had been sown, and it wasn't long before another dynasty emerged to challenge Abbasid authority. In the mid-10th century, the Fatimid Caliphate, a Shia dynasty that claimed descent from the Prophet Muhammad's daughter Fatima, conquered Egypt. The Fatimids established their capital at Cairo, which they founded in 969 CE, and transformed it into a major center of Islamic learning and culture. The Fatimid Caliphate represented a significant shift in the political and religious landscape of Egypt. As Shia rulers, the Fatimids challenged the Sunni Abbasid Caliphate's claim to leadership of the Islamic world. They promoted Shia Islam in Egypt, building mosques and schools to propagate their faith. However, the Fatimids also faced resistance from the Sunni population of Egypt, who remained loyal to the Abbasid Caliphate. Religious tensions often flared into violence, and the Fatimid rulers had to contend with numerous rebellions and uprisings. Despite the religious divisions, the Fatimid period was a time of great cultural and intellectual flourishing in Egypt. The Fatimids patronized the arts and sciences, attracting scholars, artists, and poets from all over the Islamic world to Cairo. They founded Al-Azhar University, which remains one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in the world. The Fatimid Caliphate began to decline in the late 11th century, weakened by internal strife and external threats. The Crusades, launched by European Christians to recapture the Holy Land, posed a significant challenge to Fatimid rule in the Levant. In the late 12th century, the Ayyubid dynasty, founded by Saladin, a Kurdish general who rose to prominence in the service of the Zengid dynasty of Syria, conquered Egypt. Saladin, a devout Sunni Muslim, ended Fatimid rule and restored Sunni Islam as the dominant religion in Egypt. Saladin is best known for his role in the Crusades. He led the Muslim forces in the defense of the Holy Land against the Crusaders, and he recaptured Jerusalem in 1187. Saladin was a skilled military commander and a respected leader, and he is revered by Muslims and Christians alike for his chivalry and his commitment to justice. The Ayyubid dynasty ruled Egypt for several decades, during which time the country experienced a period of stability and prosperity. The Ayyubids invested in infrastructure projects, such as irrigation systems and fortifications, and they promoted trade and commerce. However, the Ayyubid dynasty was eventually overthrown by the Mamluks, slave soldiers who had risen to prominence in the Ayyubid army. The Mamluks, mostly of Turkish and Circassian origin, established their own rule in Egypt, which lasted for over 2.5 centuries. The Mamluk Sultanate, which ruled Egypt from 1250 to 1517, was a unique and powerful state. The Mamluks were slave soldiers, who were purchased or captured as children and trained in the art of warfare. They were loyal to their Mamluk commanders, and they formed a powerful military elite that dominated Egyptian politics. The Mamluk Sultanate was divided into two periods: the Bahri Mamluks, 1250 to 1382, who were mostly of Kipchak Turkish origin, and the Burji Mamluks, 1382 to 1517, who were mostly of Circassian origin. Both periods were marked by political intrigue, power struggles, and frequent changes in leadership. Despite the internal conflicts, the Mamluk Sultanate was a period of great cultural and economic achievement in Egypt. The Mamluks patronized the arts and sciences, building mosques, madrasas, Islamic schools, and hospitals. They also promoted trade and commerce, making Egypt a major center of international trade. The Mamluks were renowned for their military prowess. They defeated the Mongol armies at the Battle of Ain Jalut in 1260, preventing the Mongols from conquering Egypt and the rest of the Middle East. They also drove the Crusaders out of the Levant, ending the Crusader presence in the region. However, the Mamluk Sultanate faced numerous challenges in its later years. The Black Death, a devastating plague that swept through Europe and the Middle East in the mid-14th century, decimated the Egyptian population and weakened the economy. The discovery of new sea routes to Asia by European explorers disrupted Egypt's trade with the East, further undermining the Mamluk economy. In the early 16th century, the Ottoman Empire, a rising power in the eastern Mediterranean, began to encroach on Mamluk territory. In 1516, the Ottoman army defeated the Mamluks at the Battle of Marj-Dabik in Syria, and in 1517, the Ottomans conquered Egypt, ending the Mamluk Sultanate. The Ottoman conquest of Egypt in 1517 marked the end of Mamluk rule and the beginning of a new era in Egyptian history. Egypt became a province of the Ottoman Empire, ruled by an Ottoman governor appointed by the Sultan in Istanbul. The Ottoman period in Egypt lasted for nearly 3 centuries, from 1517 to 1798. During this time, Egypt was governed by a series of Ottoman governors, who were responsible for maintaining order, collecting taxes, and defending the country against external threats. However, the Ottoman governors often faced challenges from the Mamluks, who continued to wield considerable power in Egypt. The Mamluks controlled much of the land and the economy, and they often defied the authority of the Ottoman governors. In the late 18th century, Egypt was invaded by Napoleon Bonaparte, the French general who was leading an expedition to conquer Egypt and disrupt British trade with India. Napoleon defeated the Mamluk armies at the Battle of the Pyramids in 1798, and he occupied Egypt for 3 years. The French occupation of Egypt was a turning point in Egyptian history. It exposed the weakness of the Ottoman Empire and the Mamluk regime, and it paved the way for the rise of Muhammad Ali, an Albanian officer in the Ottoman army who would transform Egypt into a modern state. The whispers of Mamluk power struggles, the echoes of Ottoman rule, and the brief but impactful presence of Napoleon all now fade into the background, a gentle hum as sleep deepens. Picture the shifting sands, the enduring pyramids, the timeless flow of the Nile. Let these images lull you into a state of profound relaxation, a peaceful slumber where the weight of history dissolves into the quietude of the night. Muhammad Ali, often considered the founder of modern Egypt, was a figure of immense ambition and ruthless efficiency. He arrived in Egypt as part of an Ottoman force sent to expel Napoleon's troops. However, recognizing the power vacuum and the weakness of the Ottoman administration, Muhammad Ali skillfully maneuvered himself into a position of authority. Through a combination of political cunning, military strength, and strategic alliances, he managed to secure his appointment as governor of Egypt in 1805, a position he would hold until his death in 1849. Muhammad Ali understood that Egypt's strength lay in its economy and its military. He embarked on a series of sweeping reforms aimed at modernizing both. He seized control of vast tracts of land, effectively nationalizing agriculture and implementing a system of state-controlled monopolies. He encouraged the cultivation of cash crops, particularly cotton, which became a major export and a source of revenue for the state. Recognizing the need for a strong military to secure his power and pursue his ambitions, Muhammad Ali established a modern, conscripted army, trained and equipped along European lines. He imported European military advisors and established military schools to train Egyptian officers. This new army proved highly effective, allowing Muhammad Ali to expand his control over Sudan, Syria, and parts of Arabia. Muhammad Ali's ambitions extended far beyond Egypt's borders. He sought to create a powerful, independent empire that would rival the Ottoman Empire. He intervened in the Greek War of Independence, sending his son, Ibrahim Pasha, to lead Ottoman forces against the Greek rebels. While initially successful, this intervention ultimately led to European intervention and the defeat of Muhammad Ali's forces. Despite this setback, Muhammad Ali continued to pursue his expansionist policies. He invaded Syria, defeating Ottoman armies and establishing Egyptian control over the region. This alarmed the European powers, who feared the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and the disruption of the balance of power in the region. The European powers intervened, forcing Muhammad Ali to withdraw from Syria and to accept limitations on his military power. However, they also recognized his de facto independence, granting him and his descendants the hereditary rule of Egypt. Muhammad Ali's reforms transformed Egypt into a powerful, centralized state. He modernized the economy, the military, and the administration. He laid the foundation for a modern Egyptian nation, albeit one that was heavily reliant on his personal rule. After Muhammad Ali's death in 1849, his successors continued his policies of modernization and expansion. However, they also faced increasing challenges from European powers, who sought to control Egypt's strategic location and its valuable resources. Said Pasha, Muhammad Ali's successor, granted the French engineer Ferdinand de Lesseps a concession to build the Suez Canal, a project that would have a profound impact on Egypt and the world. The Suez Canal, completed in 1869, connected the Mediterranean Sea to the Red Sea, providing a direct sea route between Europe and Asia. The construction of the Suez Canal transformed Egypt into a vital transit hub, attracting trade and investment from all over the world. However, it also made Egypt a target for European powers, who sought to control the canal and its strategic importance. Ismail Pasha, Said Pasha's successor, was a lavish spender who plunged Egypt into debt. He borrowed heavily from European banks to finance his ambitious building projects, including the construction of new palaces, roads, and railways. Ismail Pasha's extravagance led to increasing European control over Egypt's finances. European creditors demanded greater oversight of Egyptian spending, and they eventually forced Ismail Pasha to appoint European ministers to his government. This increasing European control sparked resentment among Egyptians, who felt that their country was being exploited by foreign powers. In 1879, a nationalist movement led by Colonel Ahmed Arabi emerged, demanding an end to European interference in Egyptian affairs. The Arabi revolt alarmed the British, who feared that it would threaten their control over the Suez Canal. In 1882, the British Navy bombarded Alexandria, and British troops landed in Egypt to suppress the revolt. The British occupation of Egypt in 1882 marked the beginning of a new era in Egyptian history. Although Egypt remained nominally part of the Ottoman Empire, it was effectively under British control. The British appointed a consul general to oversee the Egyptian government, and they controlled the country's finances, its military, and its foreign policy. The British occupation had a profound impact on Egyptian society. The British introduced reforms in education, law, and administration, but they also maintained a system of colonial rule that favored British interests. Egyptian nationalists continued to resist British rule, demanding independence and self-government. The nationalist movement gained momentum in the early 20th century, led by figures such as Mustafa Kemal and Saad Zaghloul. Following World War I, Egypt experienced a surge of nationalist sentiment. Saad Zaghloul led a delegation to the Paris Peace Conference, demanding recognition of Egypt's independence. However, the European powers refused to grant Egypt independence, leading to widespread protests and unrest. The British responded by arresting Saad Zaghloul and other nationalist leaders, sparking a wave of demonstrations and strikes throughout Egypt. The Egyptian Revolution of 1919, as it became known, forced the British to reconsider their policy towards Egypt. In 1922, the British government issued a declaration recognizing Egypt as an independent sovereign state, but with certain reservations. The British retained control over Egypt's foreign policy, its military, and its relations with Sudan. Despite these limitations, Egypt's independence in 1922 marked a significant step forward in the country's struggle for self-determination. Egypt adopted a new constitution and established a parliamentary system of government. However, the period between the two world wars was marked by political instability and social unrest. The Wafd Party, led by Saad Zaghloul, dominated Egyptian politics, but it faced challenges from rival political parties and from the monarchy. King Farouk, who ascended the throne in 1936, was a weak and ineffective ruler who was widely seen as being corrupt and out of touch with the needs of the Egyptian people. His lavish lifestyle and his close ties to the British alienated many Egyptians. During World War II, Egypt was occupied by British troops who used the country as a base of operations for their campaigns in North Africa and the Middle East. The war had a profound impact on Egyptian society, exacerbating existing social and economic inequalities. Following World War II, Egypt experienced a renewed surge of nationalist sentiment. The Egyptian people were determined to achieve full independence and to end British influence in their country. In 1952, a group of young army officers led by Gamal Abdel Nasser overthrew King Farouk in a military coup. The Free Officers Movement, as they were known, aimed to create a more just and equitable society in Egypt. The Egyptian Revolution of 1952 marked a turning point in Egyptian history. It ended the monarchy and ushered in a new era of republican rule. Mal Abdel Nasser, who emerged as the leader of the revolution, became a symbol of Arab nationalism and a champion of anti-colonialism. Nasser implemented a series of socialist policies aimed at reducing social and economic inequality. He nationalized key industries, including the Suez Canal, and he redistributed land to landless peasants. Nasser's nationalization of the Suez Canal in 1956 sparked a major international crisis. Britain, France, and Israel launched a joint military attack on Egypt in an attempt to regain control of the canal. The Suez Crisis, as it became known, was a major turning point in the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union condemned the Anglo-French-Israeli invasion, forcing them to withdraw their forces. The Suez Crisis enhanced Nasser's prestige in the Arab world and cemented his position as a leader of the Non-Aligned Movement, a group of countries that sought to remain neutral in the Cold War. Nasser pursued a policy of pan-Arabism, seeking to unite the Arab world under a single banner. He formed the United Arab Republic, a union between Egypt and Syria in 1958. However, the union collapsed in 1961 due to political differences. Nasser's policies of socialism and pan-Arabism had a profound impact on Egyptian society. He improved education, healthcare, and social welfare. He also promoted Arab culture and identity. However, Nasser's rule was also characterized by authoritarianism and repression. He suppressed political opposition and controlled the media. He also waged a costly and ultimately unsuccessful war against Israel in 1967. The Six-Day War of 1967 was a devastating defeat for Egypt and the Arab world. Israel occupied the Sinai Peninsula, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and the Golan Heights. The war shattered Nasser's prestige and undermined his pan-Arabist vision. Nasser died in 1970, leaving behind a complex and contradictory legacy. He was revered by many as a national hero and a champion of social justice, but he was also criticized for his authoritarianism and his military failures. Anwar Sadat, Nasser's successor, adopted a different approach to governing Egypt. He abandoned Nasser's socialist policies and pursued a policy of economic liberalization. He also sought to improve relations with the United States and the West. Sadat's most controversial decision was to make peace with Israel. In 1979, he signed the Camp David Accords, a peace treaty with Israel that ended the state of war between the two countries. The Camp David Accords were condemned by many in the Arab world, who saw them as a betrayal of the Palestinian cause. Sadat was assassinated by Islamic extremists in 1981 for his decision to make peace with Israel. Hosni Mubarak, Sadat's successor, continued Sadat's policies of economic liberalization and close relations with the United States. He ruled Egypt for 3 decades, maintaining a tight grip on power. Mubarak's rule was characterized by political stagnation, economic inequality, and human rights abuses. He suppressed political opposition and controlled the media. He also failed to address the underlying social and economic problems that plagued Egypt. In 2011, Egypt was swept up in the Arab Spring, a wave of pro-democracy protests that swept across the Middle East and North Africa. Millions of Egyptians took to the streets, demanding an end to Mubarak's rule and the establishment of a democratic government. After 18 days of protests, Mubarak was forced to resign. The Egyptian military took control of the country and promised to hold free and fair elections. The Egyptian Revolution of 2011 was a historic event that marked the end of an era of authoritarian rule in Egypt. However, the transition to democracy has been difficult and turbulent. Egypt held its first free presidential election in 2012, which was won by Mohamed Morsi, a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. Morsi's rule was controversial, and he faced widespread protests from Egyptians who opposed his Islamist policies. In 2013, the Egyptian military overthrew Morsi in a coup. Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, the military leader who led the coup, became the president of Egypt in 2014. El-Sisi has ruled Egypt with an iron fist, suppressing political opposition and cracking down on dissent. He has also pursued a policy of economic development, investing in infrastructure projects and promoting tourism. Egypt today faces numerous challenges, including economic inequality, political instability, and the threat of terrorism. The country is struggling to build a stable and democratic government while also addressing the needs of its growing population. The long and winding road of Egyptian history, from its ancient origins to its modern struggles, is a testament to the resilience and the enduring spirit of the Egyptian people. Their story is one of triumph and tragedy, of innovation and adaptation, of faith and perseverance. And now, as the narrative winds down, let the echoes of pharaohs, sultans, and presidents fade into a peaceful silence. Picture the Nile flowing gently, the pyramids standing tall, and the Egyptian people striving for a better future. Let these images soothe your mind and carry you away into a restful, dream-filled sleep. The story of Egypt continues, but for tonight, it rests. Sleep well. The weight of millennia, the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of civilizations. All these stories now gently recede, leaving you in a tranquil space, ready for deep and restorative sleep. As you drift further, consider the enduring spirit of the Egyptian people, their creativity, their resilience, and their unwavering connection to their land. Let these positive affirmations guide you into slumber. Egypt's story, however, doesn't end in the present. It continues to unfold, with each new day writing another chapter in its rich and complex narrative. To truly understand Egypt, one must also consider its cultural heritage, its artistic traditions, and its contributions to the world. Egyptian culture is a vibrant tapestry woven from ancient beliefs, Islamic traditions, and modern influences. Music, dance, literature, and art all play a vital role in Egyptian life, reflecting the country's diverse history and its unique identity. Is there anything else I can help with? Egyptian music is a blend of ancient melodies, Arabic rhythms, and Western influences. Traditional Egyptian instruments, such as the oud, the ney, and the darbuka, are still widely used, and contemporary Egyptian musicians are experimenting with new sounds and styles. Egyptian dance is equally diverse, ranging from the traditional belly dance to the more modern forms of Egyptian folk dance. Dance is often performed at weddings, festivals, and other celebrations, and it plays an important role in Egyptian social life. Egyptian literature has a long and rich history, dating back to the ancient hieroglyphic texts. Modern Egyptian writers are exploring a wide range of themes, from social justice and political reform to personal relationships and the complexities of modern life. Egyptian art is equally diverse, ranging from the ancient pharaonic art to the modern contemporary art. Egyptian artists are experimenting with new materials and techniques, reflecting the changing social and political landscape of the country. Egyptian cuisine is another important aspect of Egyptian culture. Egyptian food is a blend of Middle Eastern, African, and Mediterranean influences. Popular Egyptian dishes include ful madams, fava beans, falafel, fried chickpea balls, koshari, a mixture of rice, lentils, pasta, and chickpeas, and molokhia, a soup made from jute leaves. Egyptian hospitality is legendary. Egyptians are known for their warmth, their generosity, and their willingness to welcome visitors into their homes. Hospitality is an important value in Egyptian culture, and it is often seen as a way of honoring guests and building relationships. Egyptian humor is also a distinctive characteristic of Egyptian culture. Egyptians often use humor to cope with difficult situations and to express their opinions on social and political issues. Egyptian humor can be satirical, sarcastic, or simply lighthearted, but it is always an important part of Egyptian communication. The Arabic language is the official language of Egypt, but English and French are also widely spoken, particularly in urban areas. Egyptian Arabic, also known as Masri, is the most widely spoken dialect of Arabic in the world, and it is often used in Egyptian films, television shows, and music. The Egyptian people are a diverse mix of ethnic and religious groups. The majority of Egyptians are Arab Muslims, but there are also significant minorities of Coptic Christians, Nubians, and other ethnic groups. The Coptic Christians are the largest religious minority in Egypt, and they have a long and rich history dating back to the early days of Christianity. The Copts have their own unique traditions, customs, and religious practices, and they play an important role in Egyptian society. The Nubians are an ethnic group that lives in southern Egypt and northern Sudan. The Nubians have their own distinct language, culture, and history, and they have faced discrimination and marginalization throughout their history. Egypt is a country of contrasts, a place where ancient traditions meet modern innovations, where wealth and poverty coexist, and where hope and despair intertwine. It is a country that is constantly evolving, adapting, and reinventing itself. Despite the challenges that it faces, Egypt remains a vibrant and dynamic country with a rich cultural heritage and a proud history. The Egyptian people are resilient, resourceful, and determined to build a better future for themselves and their children. And as we conclude our journey through the story of ancient Egypt, it's important to remember that this is just one chapter in a much larger story. The story of Egypt continues to unfold, with each new generation adding its own unique contributions to the country's rich and complex narrative. As you drift off to sleep, let the spirit of ancient Egypt fill your dreams. Imagine the pyramids standing tall, the Nile flowing gently, and the Egyptian people striving for a brighter future. Let these images soothe your mind and carry you away into a peaceful and restful sleep. Remember the lessons of history, the importance of perseverance, the power of innovation, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Let these lessons guide you in your own life, and let them inspire you to make a positive difference in the world. And now, as the final words fade away, let the tranquility of the night envelop you. Release all your worries and anxieties, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, joy, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt watch over you. Good night. Consider the vastness of the desert, the unwavering gaze of the Sphinx, the intricate beauty of hieroglyphs. These are not just relics of the past, but enduring symbols of a civilization that continues to captivate and inspire. Allow these images to wash over you, calming your mind and preparing you for a night of peaceful slumber. Think of the pharaohs, not just as rulers, but as individuals who shaped the course of history, who commissioned magnificent monuments, and who sought to understand the mysteries of life and death. Reflect on their ambition, their vision, and their legacy. Remember the ordinary Egyptians, the farmers, the artisans, the scribes, the soldiers, who built the pyramids, who crafted the jewelry, who wrote the texts, and who fought to defend their land. Their stories are often overlooked, but they are just as important as the stories of the pharaohs. Consider the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt, the forces of nature that they represented, and the beliefs that they embodied. Reflect on the importance of religion in ancient Egyptian life and the ways in which it shaped their worldview. Think of the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, the source of its fertility, and the artery of its commerce. Reflect on the importance of the Nile in ancient Egyptian civilization and the ways in which it shaped their culture and their way of life. Remember the deserts that surround Egypt, the vast and unforgiving landscapes that provided both protection and isolation. Reflect on the challenges that the ancient Egyptians faced in adapting to their environment and the ingenuity that they displayed in overcoming those challenges. Consider the legacy of ancient Egypt, its contributions to art, architecture, science, mathematics, and medicine. Reflect on the ways in which ancient Egyptian civilization has influenced our own world, and the lessons that we can learn from their successes and their failures. And now, as the final thoughts drift away, let the silence of the night embrace you. Release all your tensions and worries, and allow yourself to sink into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the wisdom of ancient Egypt guide you on your journey. Good night. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, the cool breeze of the Nile on your face, the soft sand beneath your feet. Imagine yourself walking through the ancient temples, marveling at the towering columns and admiring the intricate carvings. Let these sensations lull you into a state of deep relaxation and prepare you for a night of peaceful sleep. Visualize the vibrant colors of the ancient Egyptian art, the blues, the greens, the reds, and the yellows. Imagine the scenes depicted on the walls of the tombs and temples, the stories of the gods and goddesses, the lives of the pharaohs and the ordinary people. Let these images fill your mind with beauty and wonder. Hear the sounds of ancient Egypt, the chanting of the priests, the music of the musicians, the voices of the people. Imagine the hustle and bustle of the ancient cities, the sounds of the markets, the workshops, and the temples. Let these sounds transport you to another time and another place. Smell the aromas of ancient Egypt, the incense burning in the temples, the spices used in the cooking, the perfumes worn by the people. Imagine the scents of the flowers, the fruits, and the herbs that grew along the banks of the Nile. Let these aromas awaken your senses and evoke memories of ancient Egypt. Taste the flavors of ancient Egyptian cuisine, the sweetness of the dates, the saltiness of the fish, the spiciness of the sauces. Imagine the meals that the ancient Egyptians ate, the bread, the beer, the vegetables, and the meat. Let these flavors tantalize your taste buds and transport you to another world. And now, as the final sensations fade away, let the darkness of the night envelop you. Release all your thoughts and emotions and allow yourself to drift into a deep and dreamless sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and rejuvenation. Sleep well, and may the blessings of ancient Egypt be with you. Good night. Imagine you are sailing down the Nile, the felucca gliding smoothly through the water. The sun is setting, casting a golden glow over the river and the surrounding landscape. The air is still and quiet, broken only by the gentle lapping of the water against the hull of the boat. As you sail, you pass by ancient temples and tombs, their silhouettes etched against the darkening sky. You see the towering columns of Karnak, the majestic statues of Luxor, and the hidden entrances to the Valley of the Kings. You feel a sense of awe and wonder at the sight of these ancient monuments. The stars begin to appear in the sky, twinkling like diamonds against a velvet cloth. The moon rises, casting a silvery light over the river and the surrounding landscape. You feel a sense of peace and tranquility as you gaze at the stars and the moon. The sounds of the night begin to emerge, the croaking of the frogs, the chirping of the crickets, and the hooting of the owls. You hear the distant music of a village celebration carried on the gentle breeze. You feel a connection to the ancient Egyptians, who also lived under these same stars and listened to these same sounds. The smell of the river fills the air, a mix of fresh water, reeds, and fertile soil. You smell the scent of the desert, carried on the wind from the distant dunes. You smell the aroma of a campfire, burning in a nearby village. You feel a connection to the land, the source of life and sustenance for the ancient Egyptians. The taste of the river water lingers on your lips, a clean and refreshing taste. You taste the sweetness of the dates that you are eating, a traditional Egyptian treat. You taste the bitterness of the coffee that you are drinking, a staple of Egyptian hospitality. You feel a connection to the food and drink that sustained the ancient Egyptians. And now, as the final sensations fade away, you arrive at your destination, a quiet and secluded spot on the banks of the Nile. You disembark from the felucca and set up camp for the night. You build a fire, cook a simple meal, and settle down to sleep under the stars. As you drift off to sleep, you dream of ancient Egypt, of pharaohs and gods, of pyramids and temples, of hieroglyphs and mummies. You dream of the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt, the source of its fertility and its prosperity. You dream of the Egyptian people, their resilience, their ingenuity, and their enduring spirit. You wake up refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to face the day. You pack up your camp, board the felucca, and set sail down the Nile once again. You carry with you the memories of your journey, the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes, and the sensations of ancient Egypt. And now, as the story comes to an end, let the peace and tranquility of the Nile fill your heart. Release all your worries and anxieties, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with beauty, wonder, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind wander through the Valley of the Kings, where pharaohs rest in their elaborately decorated tombs. Imagine the artist carefully painting the walls with scenes from the afterlife, the priests performing the rituals, and the guards protecting the treasures. Feel the weight of history and the mystery of the unknown. Picture the Colossi of Memnon, two massive statues of Amenhotep III standing guard over his mortuary temple. Imagine the sound of the wind whistling through the broken stones, the sight of the sunrise painting the statues in gold, and the feeling of awe at their immense size. Visualize the Temple of Karnak, the largest religious complex in the world, a sprawling network of temples, chapels, pylons, and obelisks. Imagine the priests performing their daily duties, the pharaohs making offerings to the gods, and the people gathering to worship. Feel the power and the grandeur of this ancient sanctuary. Hear the sound of the hieroglyphs being carved into the stone, the scratching of the scribe's pen on the papyrus, and the voices of the people speaking in ancient Egyptian. Imagine the stories being told, the knowledge being shared, and the traditions being passed down from generation to generation. Smell the aroma of the incense burning in the temples, the spices used in the mummification process, and the perfumes worn by the pharaohs and their queens. Imagine the scents of the flowers, the herbs, and the oils that were used in ancient Egyptian rituals. Taste the flavors of the ancient Egyptian food, the bread, the beer, the vegetables, and the fruit. Imagine the meals that the ancient Egyptians ate, the feasts that they celebrated, and the rituals that they performed around the table. And now, as the final images fade away, let the silence of the night surround you. Release all your thoughts and emotions, and allow yourself to sink into a deep and dreamless sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and rejuvenation. Sleep well, and may the blessings of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine you are an ancient Egyptian, living along the banks of the Nile. You wake up each morning to the sound of the river flowing and the sun rising over the horizon. You go to work in the fields, planting and harvesting crops, or you work in a workshop, crafting pottery or jewelry. You spend your evenings with your family, sharing stories, playing games, and enjoying each other's company. You worship the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt, offering prayers and sacrifices to ensure their favor. You believe in the afterlife, and you prepare for your journey to the other world by building a tomb and filling it with provisions. You live a simple life, but you are content. You are grateful for the blessings of the Nile, the bounty of the land, and the love of your family. You are proud to be an Egyptian, and you are honored to be a part of this great civilization. As you drift off to sleep, you dream of the gods and goddesses, of the pharaohs and the pyramids, of the Nile and the desert. You dream of the afterlife, of the journey to the other world, and of the eternal life that awaits you. You wake up refreshed and rejuvenated, ready to face another day. You are grateful for the opportunity to live in ancient Egypt, and you are determined to make the most of your time on Earth. And now, as the story comes to an end, let the peace and contentment of ancient Egyptian life fill your heart. Release all your worries and anxieties, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with happiness, joy, and fulfillment. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt guide you always. Good night. Let the image of the scarab beetle, a symbol of rebirth and renewal, fill your mind. Imagine the scarab rolling the sun across the sky each day, bringing light and warmth to the world. Feel the hope and the promise of a new beginning. Visualize the Ankh, the symbol of life, held in the hands of the gods and goddesses. Imagine the Ankh bestowing eternal life upon the pharaohs and their queens. Feel the power and the mystery of this ancient symbol. Hear the sound of the sistrum, a musical instrument used in ancient Egyptian rituals. Imagine the sistrum being shaken by the priestesses, creating a rhythmic and hypnotic sound. Feel the energy and the vibration of this ancient instrument. Smell the aroma of the lotus flower, a symbol of purity and beauty. Imagine the lotus blooming in the Nile, its petals opening to the sun. Feel the fragrance and the elegance of this ancient flower. Taste the sweetness of the honey, a food that was highly valued in ancient Egypt. Imagine the bees buzzing around the beehives, collecting the nectar from the flowers. Feel the richness and the delight of this ancient treat. And now, as the final symbols fade away, let the peace of the night embrace you. Release all your stress and tension, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and dreamless sleep. May your dreams be filled with serenity, tranquility, and bliss. Sleep well, and may the magic of ancient Egypt protect you always. Good night. Imagine you are standing before the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest and most famous of the pyramids. Feel the immensity of the structure, the sheer scale of its construction. Consider the millions of stone blocks, each weighing several tons, that were used to build this monument. Think about the engineering skills and the organizational abilities that were required to construct the pyramid. Imagine the thousands of workers who labored for decades to complete this incredible feat of engineering. Reflect on their dedication, their perseverance, and their belief in the pharaoh and the afterlife. Visualize the interior of the pyramid, the narrow passageways, the hidden chambers, and the sarcophagus of the pharaoh. Imagine the treasures that were once buried within the pyramid. The gold, the jewels, and the artifacts that were intended to accompany the pharaoh on his journey to the other world. Hear the echoes of the ancient voices, the chants of the priests, the commands of the overseers, and the footsteps of the workers. Imagine the sounds of the tools being used to cut and shape the stone, the creaking of the ropes and pulleys, and the rumble of the blocks being moved into place. Smell the dust and the stone, the sweat and the toil, and the faint scent of the embalming oils that were used to prepare the pharaoh for burial. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink that were offered to the gods and goddesses in the temples nearby. Feel the weight of the stones beneath your feet, the heat of the sun on your skin, and the dry desert air in your lungs. Imagine the hardships that the ancient Egyptians endured to build this monument, the long hours of labor, the harsh conditions, and the constant threat of accidents and disease. And now, as you turn away from the Great Pyramid, let the images and sensations fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Envision the Sphinx, the enigmatic guardian of the Giza Plateau, its lion's body and human head gazing out over the desert for millennia. Consider the mysteries that surround this ancient monument, its age, its purpose, and the secrets that it holds. Imagine the Sphinx being carved from a single block of limestone, its features gradually emerging from the rock. Think about the skilled artisans who sculpted this masterpiece, their attention to detail, their artistic vision, and their reverence for the pharaoh whom the Sphinx is believed to represent. Visualize the Sphinx being buried in sand for centuries, its body gradually disappearing from view. Imagine the efforts that were made to excavate the Sphinx, to uncover its full form, and to restore it to its former glory. Hear the whispers of the wind as it blows across the Giza Plateau, carrying the echoes of the ancient voices and the secrets of the past. Imagine the sounds of the tourists who visit the Sphinx each day, their gasps of awe and wonder at the sight of this ancient monument. Smell the dust in the sand, the scent of the desert air, and the faint aroma of the incense that is burned by the visitors who come to pay their respects to the Sphinx. Feel the warmth of the sun on your face, the cool breeze on your skin, and the rough texture of the stone beneath your fingertips. Imagine the challenges of preserving this ancient monument, of protecting it from the elements, the pollution, and the vandalism. And now, as you turn away from the Sphinx, let the images and sensations fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Picture yourself as a scribe in ancient Egypt, meticulously copying hieroglyphs onto papyrus scrolls. Imagine the steady hand required, the keen eye for detail, and the dedication to preserving knowledge for future generations. Consider the importance of literacy in ancient Egyptian society and the role of the scribes in maintaining records, writing letters, and composing literature. Visualize the tools of the scribe: the reed pen, the ink palette, the water jar, and the papyrus scroll. Imagine the careful preparation of the papyrus, the cutting of the reeds, and the mixing of the inks. Reflect on the ingenuity and the resourcefulness of the ancient Egyptians. Hear the scratching of the pen on the papyrus, the hushed voices of the other scribes, and the rustling of the scrolls as they are being unrolled and read. Imagine the sounds of the library, the center of learning and knowledge in ancient Egypt. Smell the ink, the papyrus, and the faint aroma of the incense that is burned in the library. Imagine the scents of the herbs and spices that were used to preserve the scrolls and to protect them from insects and rodents. Feel the smooth texture of the papyrus beneath your fingertips, the warmth of the sun on your face, and the weight of the responsibility of preserving knowledge for future generations. Imagine the challenges that the scribes faced: the long hours of work, the dim lighting, the eye strain, and the constant threat of errors. Reflect on their dedication, their perseverance, and their commitment to their craft. And now, as you lay down your pen and close your eyes, let the images and sensations fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine you are a priest or priestess in an ancient Egyptian temple, performing the daily rituals and honoring the gods. Feel the reverence and the devotion that permeate the temple, the sense of connection to the divine, and the responsibility of maintaining the balance between the human world and the world of the gods. Visualize the temple, its towering columns, its elaborate carvings, and its sacred chambers. Imagine the statues of the gods and goddesses, adorned with gold and jewels, and the offerings of food, drink, and incense that are presented to them. Hear the chanting of the priests, the music of the musicians, and the prayers of the people. Imagine the sounds of the temple bells, the drums, and the sistrums, and the echoes of the ancient voices resonating through the sacred space. Smell the incense, the perfumes, and the flowers that are used in the temple rituals. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink that are offered to the gods and goddesses, and the scent of the sacred oils that are used to anoint the statues and the priests. Feel the coolness of the stone floor beneath your feet, the weight of the ceremonial robes on your body, and the power of the divine presence in the temple. Imagine the energy that flows through the temple, connecting the human world to the world of the gods. Imagine the challenges that the priests and priestesses faced: The long hours of service, the strict rules and regulations, and the responsibility of maintaining the temple and its traditions. Reflect on their dedication, their devotion, and their commitment to their faith. And now, as you leave the temple and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind's eye focus on the intricate details of a pharaoh's burial mask, perhaps that of Tutankhamun, gleaming with gold and precious stones. Consider the artistry involved in its creation, the symbolism embedded within its design, and the belief in the afterlife that it represents. Imagine the mask being placed upon the mummy of the pharaoh, protecting his face and ensuring his safe passage to the other world. Think about the rituals that were performed during the mummification process, the prayers that were recited, and the preparations that were made for the pharaoh's journey to eternity. Visualize the tomb, filled with treasures and provisions for the afterlife, designed to provide the pharaoh with everything he would need in the next world. Imagine the walls adorned with paintings and hieroglyphs, depicting scenes from the pharaoh's life and the journey to the underworld. Hear the hushed voices of the priests as they perform the funerary rituals, the chanting of the prayers, and the rustling of the linen bandages. Imagine the sounds of the workmen as they seal the tomb, ensuring that the pharaoh's remains will be protected for all eternity. Smell the incense, the embalming oils, and the spices that were used in the mummification process. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink that were offered to the pharaoh's spirit, and the scent of the flowers that were placed in his tomb. Feel the coolness of the stone walls of the tomb, the dryness of the desert air, and the weight of the centuries that have passed since the pharaoh was laid to rest. Imagine the sense of mystery and awe that surrounds this ancient burial place. Imagine the challenges faced by the archaeologists who discovered Tutankhamun's tomb, the years of searching, the careful excavation, and the painstaking work of preserving the treasures that were found within. Reflect on their dedication, their perseverance, and their commitment to unraveling the mysteries of the past. And now, as the image of the burial mask fades away, let the peace of the night surround you. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine you are a farmer in ancient Egypt, working the fertile land along the banks of the Nile. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, the rich soil beneath your feet, and the satisfaction of providing for your family. Consider the importance of agriculture in ancient Egyptian society and the reliance of the people on the annual flooding of the Nile. Visualize the fields, lush and green, filled with crops of wheat, barley, and flax. Imagine the irrigation canals, carefully designed to distribute the water from the Nile, and the shadufs, used to lift the water to higher ground. Hear the sounds of the farmers working in the fields, the rhythmic swishing of the scythes, the calls of the animals, and the laughter of the children. Imagine the sounds of the village, the center of community life, where people gather to trade goods, celebrate festivals, and share stories. Smell the rich soil, the growing crops, and the fresh water of the Nile. Imagine the aromas of the food being cooked in the village, the bread baking in the ovens, and the vegetables simmering in the pots. Feel the weight of the tools in your hands, the sweat on your brow, and the satisfaction of a hard day's work. Imagine the sense of community and cooperation that binds the farmers together, and the shared dependence on the Nile and the land. Imagine the challenges that the farmers faced, the unpredictable flooding of the Nile, the threat of drought, and the constant need to protect their crops from pests and diseases. Reflect on their resilience, their ingenuity, and their deep connection to the land. And now, as you return to your home and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the farm fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and contentment. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Focus your inner eye on a scene depicting the judgment of the dead in the afterlife. Picture Anubis, the jackal-headed god, weighing the heart of the deceased against the feather of Ma'at, representing truth and justice. Consider the profound importance of morality and ethical behavior in ancient Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. Visualize the Hall of Judgment, a grand and imposing chamber where the weighing of the heart takes place. Imagine the gods and goddesses who are present, witnessing the judgment and deciding the fate of the deceased. Hear the chanting of the priests, the pronouncements of Anubis, and the silence of the deceased as they await their fate. Imagine the beating of the heart, weighed against the feather, and the tension in the air as the outcome is revealed. Smell the incense burning in the hall of judgment, the sacred oils used to anoint the deceased, and the faint aroma of the underworld. Imagine the scents of the flowers and herbs that are offered to the gods and goddesses. Feel the weight of the responsibility of living a good and virtuous life, the fear of judgment, and the hope of eternal life. Imagine the relief of the deceased if their heart is found to be lighter than the feather, and the despair if it is found to be heavier. Visualize the fate of those whose hearts are deemed unworthy, devoured by Ammit, the devourer of souls, a fearsome creature with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Imagine the consequences of living a life of sin and wickedness. Imagine the reward for those whose hearts are found to be worthy. A journey to the field of reeds, a paradise where they will live in eternal bliss, surrounded by beauty and abundance. Reflect on the ancient Egyptian belief in the possibility of redemption and the promise of a better life in the afterlife. And now, as the scene of the judgment fades away, let the peace of the night surround you. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine yourself as a skilled craftsman in ancient Egypt, meticulously creating jewelry for the pharaoh and his court. Feel the smooth texture of the gold in your hands, the intricate designs you are bringing to life, and the pride in your workmanship. Consider the value placed on craftsmanship and artistry in ancient Egyptian society. Visualize your workshop filled with tools and materials, chisels, hammers, files, drills, gold, silver, precious stones, and faience. Imagine the apprentices learning their trade, the master craftsmen guiding their hands, and the collaboration that is required to create these exquisite pieces. Hear the sounds of the workshop, the hammering of the metal, the grinding of the stones, and the chatter of the craftsmen. Imagine the sounds of the marketplace, where the finished jewelry is sold and traded, and the admiration of the customers who admire your work. Smell the metal, the stone, and the faint aroma of the oils and waxes that are used to polish the jewelry. Imagine the sense of the marketplace, the spices, the perfumes, and the other goods that are being sold and traded. Feel the weight of the gold in your hands, the coolness of the stones, and the satisfaction of creating something beautiful and valuable. Imagine the feeling of accomplishment as you present your finished jewelry to the pharaoh, and the honor of knowing that your work will be admired for centuries to come. Imagine the challenges that the craftsmen faced, the scarcity of materials, the difficult working conditions, and the constant pressure to meet the demands of the pharaoh and his court. Reflect on their skill, their creativity, and their dedication to their craft. And now, as you put down your tools and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the workshop fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and contentment. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your imagination transport you to the royal palace in ancient Egypt, a place of grandeur and power. Picture yourself as a member of the court, witnessing the daily life of the pharaoh, attending ceremonies and banquets, and participating in the affairs of state. Consider the role of the palace in ancient Egyptian society, the center of political, religious, and social life. Visualize the palace, its towering walls, its elaborate courtyards, and its opulent chambers. Imagine the throne room, where the pharaoh sits in judgment, the banquet hall, where feasts are held, and the royal gardens, where the pharaoh relaxes and enjoys the beauty of nature. Hear the sounds of the palace, the voices of the courtiers, the music of the musicians, and the footsteps of the guards. Imagine the sounds of the ceremonies, the chanting of the priests, the trumpeting of the horns, and the applause of the crowds. Smell the perfumes, the incense, and the flowers that fill the palace. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink that are served at the banquets, the roasted meats, the sweet wines, and the exotic spices. Feel the weight of the power and the authority of the pharaoh, the richness of the fabrics and jewels that adorn the courtiers, and the elegance of the palace surroundings. Imagine the sense of privilege and prestige that comes with being a member of the royal court. Imagine the challenges that the members of the court faced, the constant pressure to please the pharaoh, the political intrigues and rivalries, and the risk of falling out of favor. Reflect on their loyalty, their ambition, and their dedication to serving the pharaoh and the state. And now, as you leave the palace and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the royal court fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and contentment. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Focus your mind on the image of a fleet of ancient Egyptian ships sailing down the Nile, carrying goods, soldiers, and officials. Imagine yourself as a sailor, navigating the river, facing the challenges of the currents, the winds, and the weather, and connecting the different parts of the kingdom. Consider the importance of the Nile as a waterway for transportation and trade in ancient Egypt. Visualize the ships, their sails billowing in the wind, their oars propelling them through the water, and their decks crowded with people and cargo. Imagine the different types of ships, from the small fishing boats to the large transport vessels, and the skilled shipwrights who built and maintained them. Hear the sounds of the ships, the creaking of the wood, the flapping of the sails, and the shouts of the sailors. Imagine the sounds of the river, the lapping of the water against the hull, the calls of the birds, and the splashes of the fish. Smell the fresh water of the Nile, the salty air, and the aroma of the goods being transported on the ships. Imagine the scents of the different ports and cities along the river, the spices, the perfumes, and the exotic products from distant lands. Feel the rocking of the ship beneath your feet, the wind in your hair, and the spray of the water on your face. Imagine the camaraderie of the sailors, their shared experiences, and their reliance on each other for survival. Imagine the challenges that the sailors faced, the dangers of the river, the storms, the pirates, and the diseases. Reflect on their courage, their skill, and their adaptability. And now, as you step ashore and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the Nile and the ships fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and adventure. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind wander to the ancient Egyptian libraries and schools, centers of learning and knowledge. Imagine yourself as a student, studying hieroglyphs, mathematics, astronomy, and medicine, preparing to serve the pharaoh and the state. Consider the value placed on education in ancient Egyptian society and the role of the scribes and priests in preserving and transmitting knowledge. Visualize the libraries, filled with scrolls and tablets, organized and cataloged for easy access. Imagine the schools, where students gathered to learn from their teachers, reciting texts, copying hieroglyphs, and solving problems. Hear the sounds of the libraries and schools, the voices of the students and teachers, the scratching of the pens on the papyrus, and the rustling of the scrolls. Imagine the sounds of the discussions and debates, as students challenge each other's ideas and explore new concepts. Smell the ink, the papyrus, and the faint aroma of the incense that is burned to honor the gods of learning. Imagine the scents of the herbs and spices that are used to preserve the scrolls and to protect them from insects and rodents. Feel the smooth texture of the papyrus beneath your fingertips, the weight of the knowledge that you are acquiring, and the excitement of discovering new ideas. Imagine the feeling of accomplishment as you master a new skill or solve a difficult problem. Imagine the challenges that the students faced, the long hours of study, the strict discipline, and the pressure to excel. Reflect on their dedication, their perseverance, and their thirst for knowledge. And now, as you close your books and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the libraries and schools fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and intellectual stimulation. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Picture a bustling, ancient Egyptian marketplace, a vibrant hub of commerce and social interaction. Imagine yourself as a merchant, trading goods from near and far, negotiating prices, and connecting with people from all walks of life. Consider the importance of trade in ancient Egyptian society, both within the kingdom and with other lands. Visualize the marketplace, filled with stalls and vendors displaying a wide array of goods, food, clothing, pottery, jewelry, tools, and weapons. Imagine the crowds of people haggling over prices, exchanging news, and socializing with friends and neighbors. Hear the sounds of the marketplace, the shouts of the vendors, the calls of the animals, and the laughter of the people. Imagine the sounds of the bartering and trading, the clinking of coins and the rustling of fabrics. Smell the spices, the perfumes, the food, and the animals that fill the marketplace. Imagine the aromas of the different products being sold, the sense of the distant lands from which they came, and the mix of smells that creates the unique atmosphere of the marketplace. Feel the energy of the marketplace, the excitement of the deals being made, and the sense of community that binds the people together. Imagine the touch of the fabrics, the weight of the coins in your hand, and the satisfaction of a successful transaction. Imagine the challenges that the merchants faced, the competition from other vendors, the fluctuations in prices, and the risk of theft or fraud. Reflect on their business acumen, their resourcefulness, and their ability to adapt to changing conditions. And now, as you close your shop and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the marketplace fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and prosperity. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your thoughts settle on the image of an ancient Egyptian family gathered together in their home, sharing a meal, telling stories, and celebrating their love for each other. Consider the importance of family in ancient Egyptian society, the bonds that connected people, and the values that were passed down from generation to generation. Visualize the home, simple but comfortable, with walls of mud brick, a roof of reeds, and a courtyard where the family spends their time. Imagine the furniture, the tables, the chairs, the beds, and the chests where they store their belongings. Hear the sounds of the family, the laughter of the children, the voices of the parents, and the stories of the grandparents. Imagine the sounds of the cooking, the chopping of the vegetables, the simmering of the pots, and the crackling of the fire. Smell the aromas of the food, the bread baking in the oven, the vegetables cooking in the pots, and the fruits ripening in the sun. Imagine the sense of the home, the clean linen, the fresh flowers, and the faint aroma of incense. Feel the warmth of the family's love, the comfort of their presence, and the security of their home. Imagine the touch of their hands, the hugs of their arms, and the smiles on their faces. Imagine the challenges that the family faced, the hardships of life, the illnesses, the deaths, and the constant struggle to survive. Reflect on their resilience, their strength, and their ability to find joy and meaning in their lives. And now, as you close your eyes and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the ancient Egyptian family fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and love. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind drift to the image of an ancient Egyptian garden, a tranquil oasis of beauty and serenity. Picture yourself strolling through the pathways, admiring the flowers, the trees, and the water features, and feeling the peace and calm that surrounds you. Consider the importance of gardens in ancient Egyptian society as places of pleasure, relaxation, and spiritual reflection. Visualize the garden with its symmetrical layout, its carefully tended plants, and its refreshing shade. Imagine the flowers, the lotuses, the papyrus, the lilies, and the roses, their colors vibrant and their scents intoxicating. Hear the sounds of the garden, the buzzing of the bees, the chirping of the birds, and the gentle flowing of the water. Imagine the sounds of the gardeners, tending to the plants, pruning the trees, and maintaining the water features. Smell the fragrances of the flowers, the herbs, and the trees that fill the garden. Imagine the scents of the earth, the water, and the fresh air, all blending together to create a harmonious and refreshing atmosphere. Feel the coolness of the shade, the softness of the grass beneath your feet, and the gentle breeze on your face. Imagine the peace and tranquility that washes over you as you walk through the garden, and the sense of connection to nature and the divine. Imagine the challenges that the gardeners faced, the harsh climate, the limited water supply, and the constant need to protect the plants from pests and diseases. Reflect on their skill, their dedication, and their love of beauty. And now, as you leave the garden and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the ancient Egyptian garden fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and beauty. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine yourself as a physician in ancient Egypt, using your knowledge of medicine, herbs, and magic to heal the sick and ease their suffering. Feel the weight of your responsibility, the compassion in your heart, and the satisfaction of helping others. Consider the importance of medicine in ancient Egyptian society, the skills and knowledge of the physicians, and the beliefs about the causes and treatment of disease. Visualize your clinic, filled with patients seeking your help, your tools and instruments laid out on a table, and your shelves stocked with herbs and remedies. Imagine the scrolls containing medical texts passed down from generation to generation, and the amulets and charms that are used to ward off evil spirits. Hear the sounds of the clinic, the groans of the patients, the voices of the physicians, and the chanting of the spells. Imagine the sounds of the healing rituals, the application of the remedies, and the comforting words of the physicians. Smell the herbs, the oils, and the other ingredients that are used in your medicines. Imagine the scents of the clinic, the clean linen, the fresh flowers, and the faint aroma of incense. Feel the warmth of your hands as you examine your patients, the softness of the bandages as you dress their wounds, and the gratitude in their eyes as you relieve their pain. Imagine the connection that you feel with your patients and the satisfaction of knowing that you have made a difference in their lives. Imagine the challenges that the physicians faced, the limited knowledge of anatomy and physiology, the lack of effective treatments for many diseases, and the constant threat of infection. Reflect on their ingenuity, their resourcefulness, and their dedication to their profession. And now, as you close your clinic and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of ancient Egyptian medicine fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and healing. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind settle on the image of an ancient Egyptian festival, a time of celebration, joy, and religious devotion. Picture yourself as a participant, joining in the processions, the dances, and the feasts, and feeling the energy and excitement that fills the air. Consider the importance of festivals in ancient Egyptian society as opportunities to honor the gods, to strengthen community bonds, and to celebrate the cycles of nature. Visualize the festival, with its colorful decorations, its elaborate costumes, and its joyful atmosphere. Imagine the processions, with the statues of the gods carried on the shoulders of the priests, and the crowds of people following behind, chanting and singing. Hear the sounds of the festival, the music of the musicians, the chanting of the priests, and the shouts of the people. Imagine the sounds of the drums, the horns, and the sistrums, and the rhythms that drive the dances and the celebrations. Smell the incense, the perfumes, and the flowers that are used in the festival rituals. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink that are served at the feasts, the roasted meats, the sweet cakes, and the refreshing beverages. Feel the energy of the crowd, the excitement of the celebration, and the sense of connection to the gods and to the community. Imagine the joy of dancing, the pleasure of feasting, and the satisfaction of participating in a meaningful religious event. Imagine the challenges that the organizers of the festivals faced, the logistics of managing large crowds, the need to provide food and drink for everyone, and the risk of accidents and disruptions. Reflect on their skill, their dedication, and their commitment to creating a memorable and meaningful event for all. And now, as the festival comes to an end and you prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the ancient Egyptian festival fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and joy. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine yourself sailing on a barge with Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt, gliding down the Nile. Envision the opulence of her vessel, the richness of the fabrics, the gleam of the gold, and the beauty of the queen herself. Consider Cleopatra's intelligence, her political skills, and her tragic love affair with Mark Antony. Visualize the barge, adorned with flowers and banners, its sails billowing in the wind, and its decks filled with courtiers and servants. Imagine the music playing, the wine flowing, and the laughter echoing across the water. Hear the sounds of the barge, the lapping of the water against the hull, the flapping of the sails, and the voices of Cleopatra and her entourage. Imagine the sounds of the music, the singing, and the celebrations that take place on board. Smell the perfumes, the flowers, and the exotic spices that fill the air. Imagine the aromas of the food and drink being served, the roasted meats, the sweet fruits, and the fine wines. Feel the gentle rocking of the barge, the warmth of the sun on your skin, and the sense of luxury and privilege that surrounds you. Imagine the power and the influence of Cleopatra, and the respect and admiration that she commands. Imagine the challenges that Cleopatra faced, the political intrigues, the military threats, and the constant struggle to maintain her power and her kingdom. Reflect on her courage, her intelligence, and her tragic fate. And now, as the barge docks and you prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of Cleopatra's voyage fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and beauty. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Picture the Rosetta Stone, the key that unlocked the secrets of hieroglyphs, allowing us to read the ancient Egyptian texts and understand their history and culture. Imagine yourself as a scholar, deciphering the hieroglyphs, piece by piece, and revealing the stories of the pharaohs, the gods, and the people of ancient Egypt. Consider the importance of the Rosetta Stone in the study of ancient Egyptian history and culture. Visualize the Rosetta Stone, a fragment of a larger stela, inscribed with the same text in 3 different scripts: hieroglyphs, Demotic, and Greek. Imagine the scholars who studied the Rosetta Stone, comparing the different scripts and using their knowledge of Greek to decipher the hieroglyphs. Hear the sounds of the scholars, discussing their findings, debating the meanings of the hieroglyphs, and sharing their discoveries with the world. Imagine the sounds of the libraries, where the Rosetta Stone is studied and researched, and the excitement of the breakthroughs that are made. Smell the ink, the stone, and the faint aroma of the ancient world. Imagine the scents of the libraries, the dust of the ages, and the smell of the books and documents that contain the knowledge of the past. Feel the weight of the Rosetta Stone in your hands, the coolness of the stone, and the power of the knowledge that it unlocks. Imagine the satisfaction of deciphering a hieroglyph, of understanding a new concept, and of contributing to our understanding of ancient Egyptian history and culture. Imagine the challenges that the scholars faced, the complexity of the hieroglyphic script, the lack of comparable texts, and the difficulty of translating ancient concepts into modern language. Reflect on their dedication, their perseverance, and their intellectual brilliance. And now, as you close your books and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the Rosetta Stone fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and intellectual curiosity. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine you are an archaeologist, carefully excavating an ancient Egyptian tomb, brushing away the dust of centuries to uncover the secrets of the past. Feel the thrill of discovery, the respect for the ancient Egyptians, and the dedication to preserving their legacy for future generations. Consider the importance of archaeology in our understanding of ancient Egyptian history and culture. Visualize the tomb, filled with treasures, artifacts, and mummies, untouched for thousands of years. Imagine the careful planning of the excavation, the meticulous documentation of every find, and the painstaking work of preserving and restoring the artifacts. Hear the sounds of the excavation, the brushing away of the dust, the clicking of the cameras, and the hushed voices of the archaeologists. Imagine the sounds of the laboratory, where the artifacts are analyzed and studied, and the discussions about their significance and meaning. Smell the dust, the stone, and the faint aroma of the embalming oils and the ancient world. Imagine the scents of the tomb, the dryness of the air, and the smell of the organic materials that have been preserved for centuries. Feel the weight of the centuries as you hold an ancient artifact in your hands, the coolness of the stone, and the sense of connection to the past. Imagine the excitement of uncovering a new treasure, of learning something new about ancient Egyptian culture, and of sharing your discoveries with the world. Imagine the challenges that the archaeologists face, the difficult working conditions, the delicate nature of the artifacts, and the constant need to protect the tomb from looters and vandals. Reflect on their dedication, their skill, and their commitment to preserving the past for future generations. And now, as you leave the tomb and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of ancient Egyptian archaeology fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and the thrill of discovery. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind wander to the ancient Egyptian myths and legends, the stories of the gods and goddesses, the creation of the world, and the journey to the afterlife. Imagine yourself listening to these stories around a campfire, feeling the wonder and the mystery of the ancient world, and learning about the values and beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. Consider the importance of myths and legends in understanding ancient Egyptian culture and their worldview. Visualize the gods and goddesses, their human bodies and animal heads, their powers and their personalities. Imagine Ra, the sun god, sailing across the sky in his boat, Osiris, the god of the underworld, judging the souls of the dead, and Isis, the goddess of magic, protecting her son Horus. Hear the voices of the storytellers, reciting the myths and legends, their words filled with drama, emotion, and moral lessons. Imagine the sounds of the music, the drums, the flutes, and the harps, accompanying the stories and enhancing their impact. Smell the incense, the fire, and the faint aroma of the desert night. Imagine the scents of the ancient world, the spices, the perfumes, and the exotic flowers that are associated with the gods and goddesses. Feel the warmth of the fire, the coolness of the night air, and the sense of connection to the ancient Egyptians as you listen to their stories. Imagine the wonder and the awe that fill your heart as you learn about the creation of the world and the journey to the afterlife. Imagine the challenges that the storytellers faced, the need to remember the complex and detailed stories, the responsibility of conveying their meaning and significance, and the importance of entertaining and engaging their audience. Reflect on their skill, their creativity, and their dedication to preserving the myths and legends of ancient Egypt. And now, as the stories come to an end and you prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the ancient Egyptian myths and legends fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and the magic of the ancient world. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Imagine you are a soldier in the ancient Egyptian army, defending your country from its enemies, protecting the pharaoh, and upholding the honor of Egypt. Feel the weight of your armor, the strength of your weapon, and the courage in your heart. Consider the importance of the army in ancient Egyptian society, the training and discipline of the soldiers, and the strategies and tactics used in warfare. Visualize the army, marching in formation, their shields gleaming in the sun, their spears raised high, and their chariots rumbling across the battlefield. Imagine the different types of soldiers, the infantry, the archers, and the charioteers, and the specialized skills and equipment that they possess. Hear the sounds of the army, the marching feet, the clashing of weapons, and the shouts of the commanders. Imagine the sounds of the battle, the cries of the wounded, the roar of the chariots, and the thunder of the siege engines. Smell the sweat, the blood, and the smoke of the battlefield. Imagine the scents of the army camp, the food cooking over the fires, the animals stabled in the tents, and the leather of the armor and weapons. Feel the adrenaline pumping through your veins, the fear of death, and the determination to fight for your country and your pharaoh. Imagine the camaraderie of the soldiers, their shared experiences, and their loyalty to each other. Imagine the challenges that the soldiers faced, the dangers of the battlefield, the harsh conditions of the desert, and the constant threat of injury and death. Reflect on their courage, their discipline, and their dedication to their duty. And now, as you return from battle and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the ancient Egyptian army fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries, and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and the pride of service. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your mind focus on the ancient Egyptian art and architecture, the magnificent temples, the towering pyramids, and the intricate carvings and paintings. Imagine yourself walking through these ancient wonders, feeling the awe and the inspiration that they evoke, and appreciating the skill and artistry of the ancient Egyptians. Consider the importance of art and architecture in ancient Egyptian society as expressions of religious beliefs, political power, and cultural identity. Visualize the temples, their massive columns, their elaborate decorations, and their sacred sanctuaries. Imagine the pyramids, their towering forms reaching towards the sky, their smooth surfaces reflecting the sunlight, and their hidden chambers filled with treasures and secrets. Hear the sounds of the temples, the chanting of the priests, the music of the musicians, and the echoes of the ancient voices. Imagine the sounds of the construction sites, the hammering of the stone, the grinding of the tools, and the shouts of the workers. Smell the stone, the dust, and the faint aroma of incense and perfumes. Imagine the scents of the temples, the flowers, the herbs, and the sacred oils that are used in the rituals and ceremonies. Feel the coolness of the stone, the smoothness of the carvings, and the grandeur of the architecture. Imagine the weight of the history, the power of the pharaohs, and the devotion of the people who built these magnificent structures. Imagine the challenges that the artists and architects faced, the limited resources, the difficult working conditions, and the need to create works that would last for eternity. Reflect on their skill, their creativity, and their dedication to their craft. And now, as you step away from these ancient wonders and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of ancient Egyptian art and architecture fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and inspiration. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Think of the legacy of ancient Egypt, its contributions to mathematics, astronomy, medicine, and engineering, and its influence on Western civilization. Imagine yourself studying these achievements, appreciating the ingenuity and the knowledge of the ancient Egyptians, and recognizing their impact on our modern world. Consider the lasting significance of ancient Egypt and its enduring appeal to people of all cultures and times. Visualize the mathematical formulas, the astronomical charts, the medical texts, and the engineering designs that were developed by the ancient Egyptians. Imagine the scribes and scholars working diligently in their libraries and schools, recording their knowledge and passing it on to future generations. Hear the voices of the teachers and students, discussing their findings, debating their theories, and sharing their knowledge. Imagine the sounds of the laboratories and workshops, where experiments were conducted and new discoveries were made. Smell the ink, the papyrus, and the faint aroma of the ancient world. Imagine the scents of the libraries and schools, the dust of the ages, and the smell of the books and documents that contain the knowledge of the past. Feel the weight of the knowledge, the excitement of discovery, and the sense of connection to the ancient Egyptians who made these remarkable achievements. Imagine the pride of knowing that you are part of a long tradition of learning and innovation. Imagine the challenges that the ancient Egyptian scholars faced, the limited resources, the lack of modern technology, and the need to develop their own methods and techniques. Reflect on their ingenuity, their perseverance, and their dedication to the pursuit of knowledge. And now, as you close your books and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the legacy of ancient Egypt fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and the spirit of learning. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night. Let your imagination return to the Nile, the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, flowing gently through the land, providing water, food, and transportation. Imagine yourself drifting down the river on a felucca, watching the sunset, and feeling the peace and tranquility of this ancient waterway. Visualize the Nile, its waters reflecting the sky, its banks lined with lush vegetation, and its surface dotted with boats and barges. Imagine the farmers working in the fields, the fishermen casting their nets, and the children playing along the shore. Hear the sounds of the Nile, the lapping of the water against the banks, the calls of the birds, and the laughter of the children. Imagine the sounds of the boats, the creaking of the wood, the flapping of the sails, and the voices of the sailors. Smell the fresh water, the fertile soil, and the scent of the vegetation along the banks. Imagine the aromas of the food cooking in the villages, the spices and herbs used in the cooking, and the sweetness of the ripe fruits. Feel the warmth of the sun, the coolness of the water, and the gentle breeze on your face. Imagine the peace and tranquility of the river, the sense of connection to nature, and the feeling of being transported to another time and place. Imagine the challenges that the ancient Egyptians faced in managing the Nile, the unpredictable floods, the droughts, and the need to maintain the irrigation systems. Reflect on their ingenuity, their resourcefulness, and their deep understanding of the river and its cycles. And now, as you step ashore and prepare for sleep, let the images and sensations of the Nile fade into the background. Release all your thoughts and worries and allow yourself to drift into a deep and restful sleep. May your dreams be filled with peace, tranquility, and the blessings of the Nile. Sleep well, and may the spirit of ancient Egypt be with you always. Good night.